Hey, gang, did you know that this is Consumer Protection Week? And that means that this week the BBB releases the Scam Tracker Risk Report, and that is something, of course, that we're always talking to you about here on the Talk of the Commonwealth with the help of Nancy Cahalen from the Better Business Bureau. What are these scams that are out there, and how Scam Tracker can help you report some of the scams that are there. So let's hear from Nancy now about the risk index, the Scam Tracker Risk Report. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so this is pretty exciting. There's some surprises in this year's report. But first, let's talk about this risk index. It's something unique to the way BBB reports on scam risk. And what we do is we look at the exposure, like how often you're exposed by these potential scams, by the susceptibility, and that would be how often folks fall for them, or actually lose money, and then by the monetary loss. So what amount of money is the average amount that's lost on the scams? So we use that formula to determine which scams are the riskiest. So our surprise this year, investment in cryptocurrency scams was determined the riskiest for 2023 based on the data that we reviewed in the Scam Tracker. More than 80% of the people who were targeted by this type of scam reported losing money. So maybe it's not as the exposure, maybe it's not out there as often, but those that are targeted lose money and lose a lot of money. So they had the second highest median dollar loss of $3,800. So that's right up there. Investment scams, they can take many forms. There could be pressure to purchase or trade or store cryptocurrency. And that's why we combined the investment in cryptocurrency into one category this year, because there was so much crossover. These investment scams included cryptocurrency quite often. So that was kind of a surprise that took the top spot.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? That's the way that would sort of come down. I mean, this is why Scam Tracker and the Risk Report and all these things are so fascinating.
Yeah, and particularly for people 45 and older, they fell for this scam more frequently than others in a younger category. And that makes a lot of sense because people 45 or older probably are in a position where they have more money to invest, or they're trying to invest, they're looking forward towards a retirement, and they're trying to build that nest egg. So one thing we need to know is if an opportunity sounds too good to be true, back off. There are no investment opportunities that come with zero risk. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, so if we keep taking a look at some of the things that are on there as well, some more interesting things sort of pop up too. And so many of these now are the things that you talk to us about with the employment scams, the online purchasing scams that we talk about so often, and they're all they're all on there, kind of going up and down.
Yes. Employment scams remained in the second position. They remained second riskiest scam in 2023. But the reports increased over 50% from the year before. Employment scams had a median dollar loss of $1,995, and that was significantly higher than the overall median loss of $100 reported for all scam types. So you can see that if $100 is the median dollar loss for all scam types, there's a lot of scams that depend on many small amounts, and I think that's the reason why online purchase scams dropped from the riskiest type for the first time since 2019 and landed in the number 3 spot. And that's because there's tons of these scams and there's tons of people that lose money, but the amount of money tends to be smaller. So that's why BBB, according to their formula, don't feel it's as risky as these other scams where the victims lose, $3,000-$4,000 on average. So 41% of the scams submitted to Scam Tracker last year were online purchase scams, and 82% of the folks that reported losing money. But again, it's an average, a median loss of much less than the employment scam or the investment or cryptocurrency scams. So a couple other things we determined is scams online continue to grow. It's not a big surprise. Online scams made up 68% of all the reports we received. And also very concerning is that they were more likely to result in a monetary loss and than scams perpetrated in person or on the phone. So we're not answering the phone. We're following my advice here. Don't pick it up if you don't recognize the number. And people just don't, they're not coming knocking on your door. And if they do, that's kind of sketchy. And I think people kind of pull the drapes back a little and keep an eye on them, Yeah. So we just don't have people coming to the door like that anymore. So
true.
So the online scams are how the scammers are getting out there.
Yeah, interesting too that we often think about the scams hitting older people, but we also think about older people perhaps not being online as much.
Yes, but this is the second year in a row that people aged 18 to 24, not so old, reported the highest median dollar loss of all age groups. So they lost $155 on average, compared to the overall median loss of 100. So 50% more. So the percentage of people who reported engaging with a scammer versus social media also rose. It rose 63% from the previous year. So that's really a great platform for scammers as well. And so we really need to be on guard when we're looking at deals there. The Facebook Marketplace, people report a lot of scams there.
Yeah, I really, again, I think that I remember this from last year, and I remarked that I was surprised about it, and I'm surprised again. I don't know, 18 to 24, so you really are targeting young people who are vulnerable. They've spent their whole lives online at this point and probably tend to believe everything that pops up in their Facebook, Twitter, or wherever else.
Right. Well, you got to think they're embarking on some new things.
Yeah.
They could be, getting jobs, that buying more expensive items, vehicles, renting apartments. We've heard all about these scams for those types of things. And the fake check scam is also very prevalent in that group. They're not familiar with checks. They're not, and how they work. So it's easier to scam them. The employment scams were the number one riskiest for that whole age group from 18 to 44, and the investment in crypto scams were number one for the 45 plus. So you can see how their place in life really determines which scams they're more targeted for. And also, according to our results, the feeling, that the emotion that people feel when they're scammed changes. The 18 to 44 named anxiety and stress as the number one emotion, but the people 45 plus got mad. They cited anger. So, that's very different. It's a very different reaction from those two age groups.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm in the anger category if that happens, for sure. What else is in the BBB Scam Tracker report that we need to know?
Well, we always talk about imposter scams being very prevalent, and the five most impersonized organizations for last year, Amazon moved from the number one spot, and the U.S. Postal Service took that spot over again. Amazon came in number two. Publishers Clearinghouse came in number three. The Geek Squad was in number four, and Norton in number five. So, when you think about some of these scams and how they work, they're trying to impersonate someone that you trust. And so the Geek Squad and Norton want to get into your computer. So that's who they're pretending to be. Or the U.S. Postal Service or Amazon, they're looking for some personal information.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny how it changes, and then you start to identify why these organizations are being impersonated.
Absolutely. All right, people have now been hearing about Scam Tracker, what a great tool it is, as we have been telling them about for a long time now. How do they use it?
Well, you can use it to report a scam or to learn about other risky scams. To go to bbb.org/scam tracker to access Scam Tracker directly. And if you want to learn more read about scams that are active right now, you can go to bbb.org/scam tips, and there's a news feed there that has more current scams in it. So, I'm not sure I mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. BBB Scam Tracker was voted the best scam fighting tool by Global Anti-Scam Alliance and Scam Advisor last year. So I think that's something we're very proud of. And, if people report to Scam Tracker and you do some research on there, we're going to help folks that are not be victimized by scams. They'll still be targeted, but they won't lose money.
Very good. Nancy Cahalen, President, CEO, Better Business Bureau, serving Central and Western Massachusetts and Northeastern Connecticut. Thank you so much for bringing us up to date on the Scam Tracker Risk Report.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.